Welcome to this Saga Food Flask recipe series with me, Harrison Ward, also known as the Fell Foodie. In this recipe we're cooking up a lovely sweet potato tagine to take out on your next walking adventure. We're going to be cooking this recipe up to go in a Primus Preppen Food Flask to keep this nice and hot, whether you're going for a walk somewhere, to enjoy on a park bench, maybe off commuting, or even to enjoy at home perhaps. Again, finding a lovely view on a park bench, parking up in the car by the coast and enjoying this piping hot from that food flask. A delicious recipe that's going to take you right into those Middle Eastern, sort of Eastern flavours in there. So let's get started on this dish. So in this dish, we've got the ingredients all on display here. You can find these ingredients on the Saga website listed on this article that hopefully you're watching this video from. But we've got some lovely chickpeas in here, we've got some carrot going through, sweet potato, a bit of swede. Not going to use all this swede, we're going to chop this down quite a bit and use about a quarter of that. Some onion, plenty of garlic going through this as well, don't be shy on the garlic. Some chilli and parsley is going to garnish at the end, so no heat going through this initially, other than through sort of the Ras El Hanout spices that are going through this dish in the front here. So some turmeric in there as well, some ground coriander. We've got some preserved lemons in there as well for a really hit of that citrusy flavours through there too. So 2 small ones of those are going to get chopped up nice and fine. Going to go through this tagine to really add to that dish. A bit of sweetness with some dried apricot and some dates in there as well. And some good quality chopped tomatoes to bring this all together with those sweet and sour notes, really bringing out those natural tomato flavours. Some rose harissa here is going to be the sort of star of the dish. A nice heaped spoonful of this into there with sort of its chilli notes again, lovely savoury bits, its oils and a bit of rose petal through there as well. Give it a nice fragrance to this dish. And then finally, serve this all up. I'm going to enjoy this straight out of the food flask, some great proteins in there, some great veg, plenty of flavours, but you could have this with some bread, with some rice on the side too. But of course, we're going to take this out and about, so a nice one-pot food flask dish to start off this series. Once we finish the dish, we're going to store this in the Primus Preppen Vacuum Jug here. Now, it's great for keeping things hot and cold. I love the fact it's got a really wide lip as well, which is great for getting things inside it, but also great for cleaning out afterwards as well. I mean, brilliant for taking things in cold. You want to store these in for little adventures, but again, stews, risottos in there, soups, all great for this kit in here, whether you're going out and about, throwing it in the rucksack, or again, heading off on a nice journey somewhere, having these in the car, or again, if you are still at work, taking these with you and enjoying on your lunch break as well. So we're going to get the tagine in here. Once we're finished, store this out, nice and piping hot, to enjoy in a few hours when you're out and about. So we're going to start off with some onion, get this sliced up, nothing too small, but no big chunks either into here. Top and tail on the onion, and get rid of this skin. We're going to sweat this down in the pan with those lovely spices first to soften this out, really add that base into this tagine. Slice those onions up then. I'm going to keep them fairly sizable in there because again, this is going to slow cook in the oven as well, so nothing too diced because they'll completely disappear, but also nothing too chunky in there as well. And we'll get the other bits prepped up as well before we get these in. So a nice bit of garlic in here too. So we're going to go in with 5 cloves of garlic. So it may seem like quite a lot to a few of you, but again, it's going to be a lovely flavour into there, into this tagine. Plenty of garlic in those Morrocan type flavours, those Far Eastern, North African dishes too. So don't be scared in here. If you're really not a fan of garlic, of course, bring these numbers down slightly, maybe 1 or 2 cloves instead, but plenty for me. 5's going to add a lovely flavour base to this. Again, we'll press down on these cloves with the knife as well, just get those skins off. Bit of pressure. Those skins are going to come off lovely now. We're going to chop these into a fine dice as well, nice and small. Small as you can on this garlic here. You could sort of blast this up as well in either a food processor or a pestle and mortar. Bash this up as well into a nice paste, but again, a fine dice will work just as well too. Okay, garlic nice and skinned then. A fine slice on this garlic. And we'll go across as well to make this into a fine dice. Okay, so that's the onion and garlic all chopped up. So we're going to go into this pan that's on the heat with a bit of oil in here. So you could use an extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to go with extra virgin rapeseed oil, slightly higher smoke point in here, but great for those slow cooked dishes with that added smoke point difference for a hot pan. So plenty of oil into this pan. And then we're going with those onions and start sweating those down so they're nice and softened before we go with those spices and start to build up that flavour profile with this dish. Just got a nice bit of heat in the pan there, we can hear the sizzle. We're going to leave the garlic out for now. Won't take as long to cook, so the onions first off. In with that oil. Let those slightly start to soften before we go in with those spices again. So we've got the Ras El Hanout spices in there again, nice Moroccan blend. We've got some ground coriander in there, we've got some turmeric, and lovely in there. So whilst we're cooking that out, we can make a start on these root vegetables then. So we can peel off this sweet potato and the carrots, and again, some of that swede we're going to use as well. Not all that swede, again, maybe about a third or a quarter. I'll just take off the hard tops of either side as well. Okay, we'll peel these root vegetables up. So the sweet potato then, take that nice peel off first. I'm just going to slice this out into fairly small chunks, nothing too sizable, so it cooks through nicely in the tagine. We're going to pop this in the oven to finish once we've got this together in the pan. Slow cook that through, get rid of a bit of moisture after it comes together. Peel the carrot as well. As I peel all this together and get rid of all those excess bits on here. Okay, the sweet potato then. So we'll half this, get a nice flat edge to work with. And again, some decent chunks, but fairly small into here. Nothing sort of fine dice, but again, just some chunks to cook through. So the smaller we cook them through, the quicker they're going to cook through in that dish as well. And you can normally boil this up or roast these off. But really big chunks in there. We are using the food flask at the end as well, so too big, we won't be able to get those into the flask so much. So nice big chunks, so nice bite-sized morsels in there instead. Of course, this will reduce a little bit as well, but take on some of those flavours in that pan as well. Just take off the ends of this carrot. We'll do the same, maybe half this and quarter, and then some similar sized chunks as well. Again, the carrot and swede probably a bit harder than the sweet potato, probably take a little bit longer to cook in there. So again, having that smaller chunk is going to allow that to cook through in the sauce nicely. And the same with this, just a little bit of an edge on there, we'll take a bit more off. Okay, so we're all cubed off, that onion's cooking through nicely. So we're going to go with those onions now, a little bit of colour on there, mainly sweated down, but in with those spices now as well. So in here we said we had that Ras El Hanout spice in there, you can see some of that fennel seed through there, some lovely sort of smoky Middle Eastern flavours, ground coriander and that turmeric for a bit of colour as well. In with all this in here. So again, you can find the quantities in the recipe on the Saga website. We'll just bring that through that onion as well and start to build that flavour profile in this dish. So already the aromatics and the smells really permeating through the kitchen and lovely. We'll cook that out for a few more minutes before we go in with the garlic. We start to build this up as we go. So we get those root vegetables to one side. Now we're going with the preserved lemon in here. So we'll get this lemon chopped up nice and fine into here. So really sharp citrusy notes with the flavours into here. You could pop these in quite whole as well, half or whole into the dish and take them out at the end, just get that flavour to come through in the roasting. But again, nice and fine in here as well. Some of those sort of bitter notes are going to really add to sort of the tomato base and the sweetness of the apricots and dates that are going through this as well. So don't be scared of having those bitter notes in, building that profile up. So just whole as well, these lemons in there. We do find some pips in there, again, just discard those where they are. Of course, these are whole lemons, preserved, so they will have those in there, but again, don't worry too much, but take those out if you do find them. And we'll just set that aside for now. That onion's all softened nicely now, those spices starting to integrate, so we'll get the garlic in there as well, so all those cloves in together. Allow it to soften through as well for a few minutes in that pan before we start building this in with the root vegetables. Right, we're also going to chop through our apricots and our dates in here as well, that bit of sweetness through here. Again, you could put some currants through there, other dried fruits if you're choosing. Actually, dates very sweet, so don't put too much of those. Don't go all dates into here, but again, a nice mix, adds a bit of colour through that dish as well, and those sweet poppy notes through this tagine as well. You've got to need a bit of dried fruit for a tagine. So we want some little chunks in there that will show up in the finished dish, but again, nothing too big once again. As always in these food flask dishes, again, like cooking outdoors, that I would normally do, trying to cook things a lot smaller so they cook through more evenly is always preferable. Obviously test the knife skills slightly, but again, you could whack some of these bits in the food processor as well if you wanted a speedier dish into there. And again, it's also great for batch cooking too. You can make this in advance. Again, freeze some portions, or again, if there's a couple of you heading out, different food flasks, one for each other to take out as well. These dishes work really well for that as well. I've got the apricot there and these dates. I've bought the pitted dates in here, but normally they wouldn't have the pits or the stones in there as well. So just make sure you're aware of that, depending on which one you buy. But they do tend to come out quite easy. You can just squeeze those pits out of the dried dates. Obviously synonymous with sort of those Middle Eastern dishes in there, dates. I mean, gorgeous to have, even a little snack or adding that sweetness through dishes. Both savoury and desserts. Right, so everything's prepared in this dish now then, so we're going to put through the root vegetables into that onion and garlic and those spices that have been really amalgamating together in there. Just allow those to sort of dance over those root vegetables, start to build that flavour palette. before we go through with more of the aromatics in there as well. Bring the chickpeas through and the tomatoes and a bit of vegetable stock into this. And then finally we're going to go into the oven with this dish and allow it to sort of reduce down again. Normally you'd have that big terracotta sort of tagine in there, again to act for those moisture to come through and drip down into that dish to really concentrate those flavours. But again, a normal casserole dish there with some tinfoil over the top or a ceramic lid will work just as well for this dish. Get all those flavours in amongst that carrot, that swede, again non-traditional there, but keep this nice winter veggies and the carrot in this dish as well. Okay, I'm going to go in with some of the veg stock in there as well again. So you could make a homemade vegetable stock in here, you could just use a stock cube like I have into this dish. Not use it all at the moment, but a bit in there to allow that moisture to start softening those root vegetables slightly. And we'll save some of that when we build the rest of the dish together. Again, add a bit more moisture through this and more flavour and depth through the tagine as well. Of course, I've not seasoned this yet with any salt, but of course you've got some nice salts through some of the preserves we've got in here. Again, the veg stock will be quite salty as well, so we'll taste near at the end, season appropriately before it goes into the oven, which will of course concentrate it further as well. So losing that moisture is going to make it taste a little bit saltier. So we'll season more at the end so we know how our profile is going to be. And we'll get some lemon sliced up for a little squeeze afterwards when we're finished, just a bit of prep for the garnishes at the end. A little bit chilli as well, it's going to go on the top once it's finished. So we'll just get this prepped up so it's all ready and off the board. So it can be nice and tidied up once this is in the oven. So that chilli can go with that parsley. Again, kept the chilli out. If you like it a bit hotter, again, you can go through with some of this chilli through the dish as well. Now, if you're liking the sort of sound of this dish so far, there's another dish up on the Saga website as well. A lovely shepherd's pie to take out in the food flask. Yes, with that mashed potato top as well, to dive through and enjoy whilst out and about on some adventures or in the great outdoors. Again, one you wouldn't normally see packed out into a little flask, but why not? Again, it's a great dish to have indoors, really comforting. So again, delicious as well to have out. So a meaty option there, as opposed to more this vegan, vegetarian dish we've got in part of the Saga Food Flask series. Lovely, so we're going to go in with those apricots and dates. Whack those straight in. The preserved lemon as well. Into here, so again, those sweet and those bitter notes through this. So that vegetable stock starting to reduce as well, some of it being absorbed into that root vegetables to soften those up, and also some of it just being released, being heated off. So we're going with the tomato as well. So good quality chopped tomatoes into there, and the chickpeas as well. So a nice bit of protein and carbohydrates with those chickpeas. Okay, and finally, the final component of this tagine is this beautiful rose harissa paste into here as well. So packed with flavour from those chili notes into there, the spices that are going through, as well as that sort of velvety, sort of red colours going through this dish, and a really deepness of flavour and of colour to this tagine. So be generous with this harissa. So we're going to go maybe around a tablespoon or so, slightly heat me a little bit more, and stir this through this tagine. So finally, again, we brought this to a simmer, we're starting to reduce off. We might go for a little bit more vegetable stock in the end, into a casserole dish, then we're going to go into the oven with this dish as well. So we brought this to a simmer here in the pan now, so it's going to be ready to go in the oven now to really reduce down further. So again, really build that flavour up as we've mentioned. So I've got the oven set to 180 degrees already, preheated oven. We're going to go into this dish again, as I said before, using that lovely terracotta tagine dish is the perfect way, but again, a simple casserole dish with some tinfoil over the top is going to work just as well too. So we'll get this dish into this casserole dish then to reduce down. Again, some lovely colours and flavour built already in there, some of those aromatics, and again, the vegetables through this as well. But just reducing this down in that oven is going to really amplify that. Okay, and over with a little bit of tinfoil on the top. And into the oven. So again, I'll be putting this in there for around sort of 45 minutes to an hour in there till it reduces down really nicely. But again, take the time with it as well. You could whack this through a slow cooker and just leave it on the side. Perhaps even throw it all in there at the start as well and just forget about it till it comes to prepping this into the food flask to head out and enjoy some outdoors time. But into that oven, again, 45 minutes to an hour. Now the tagine's been in the oven now for about 40 minutes to an hour, so we'll get this out, get this served up into the food flask. Smelling good. Okay, lovely. Nice and reduced, bubbling hot. It's going to stay really nice and warm in the food flask now. Packed out, ready to go out. Now that's out, we'll just give it a little spritz of some lemon juice there, just to get cut through that with that fresh zinginess. And then we're going to pack it out into our food flask, ready to go. You could pop some hot water in here first to warm this flask through, to really allow that temperature to really last a lot longer when you're out and about. But if you're going for a walk, maybe a couple of hours away again, or just traveling somewhere, this is going to stay piping hot, ready for you to enjoy when out and about. So we'll get this loaded into the food flask. Again, those really wide container at the top, wide lipped, really easy to get this all put in there. And again, a nice handy size to pack in as well, whether you're on feet or in a vehicle. Lovely stuff. And then we've got a bit of parsley and a bit of chilli on the top, just to dress this up slightly. But again, if you're not a fan of keeping it hot, then leave this chilli out. Okay, and there we have a sweet potato tagine, all cooked up nicely for the food flask. Perfect to head out there and enjoy on the go. This has been a series from Saga, Primus and myself, Foodie. All the ingredients in the recipe can be found at the Saga website, but otherwise, thanks for watching.